All right, guys, you've been asking me to take a look at this titanium lockpick set, and when the price went down by 20%, I grabbed one. Stick around, and let's take a look. All right, guys, I got this from LockPickShop. They normally sell for $50, and they had marked them down to $39.95, so I grabbed one. It arrives in your mailbox in a plain brown wrapper, and were it not for this huge titanium lockpick set, it would look like all of the rest of your mail and your subscription magazines. Anyway, inside of here is this plastic carrier. This is probably just to prevent damage during shipment, because when all of that stuff is in here, it still rattles around. So I don't think that's the permanent carrier, just for shipping protection. They've really made some interesting choices on the picks. You got two different kinds of picks. One is these little guys, and then the original, well, almost original Raymundo design. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Let's first start here with this guy. Move that out of the way. All right, this first one is kind of an interesting pick because it's not really a short hook, and it's not quite a DeForest half diamond. It's something like in between, like a hybrid. And I actually like this because the more I looked at this, the more I realized, let me grab him, that it looks a lot like my favorite, most frequently used pick, and this is the Attila. There are some very slight differences. The tip, for example, of the titanium one is a little beefier, and the shaft of the Attila right in there is a little thicker. But other than that, it feels the same when I attack locks with this one as it does with the Attila. So I really like it. It is nice and stiff. These are 31 thousandths titanium. I would probably put some sandpaper to them. You can see they did put a little finish on them, but they could probably use a little bit of rounding off. These are really intended for infrequent use, and I say that just because of the size. So it's almost like a half length. I'm going to put this right behind it. This is from Tool. Just to give you an idea, the shaft width is identical, but the length, it's about half of the normal length. So when you're picking a lock, it's not bad to hold this for short periods of time, but the rear of it's going to be unsupported. So your fingers are going to become tired. So this is not really for full-time use, but for those emergency or real quick pick jobs of simple locks, these really have worked out really well for me. Any scratches you see are my fault. I have been using these for about a week, I guess. Okay, that was, I'm going to call it the short hook, but it's really not. This would be their deep hook. Again, an interesting choice. I can't imagine that for a quick pick job or a master lock or a Yale that you'd need something quite that deep. I probably would modify this guy, and I've gone ahead and grabbed, this is from the SS Dev kit. It is the short hook equivalent. So when you put him up here, get them lined up, you can see that the shafts are identical, the shape is identical. It's just that the titanium one is just a hair longer. I would probably file off the titanium one to more closely match this, what I would call a medium hook. It'd be a lot more useful than a deep hook would be. Next one is a ball. There's nothing unusual about this guy. He's standard industry dimensions, everything is identical. Titanium 31 thousandths of an inch. And this last one, of course, is again, an interesting choice. Rather than a small half diamond, this is a medium or even a large half diamond. It doesn't matter his thickness, because as tall as he is, he's going to be able to get into pretty much any keyway. So he makes a great raker. You can single pin pick with him if you want to. But more importantly, this gives you an option in this little kit to pick dimple locks. If you put them in there sideways, I probably would thin the shaft down a little bit here so I could work sideways without too much restriction. Other than that, it's a industry standard shape. Now we get to some interesting stuff. These look very much like the Raymundo original, well, almost original design. I have carried one of these in my pocket for years and years. Raymundo himself made this one for me. I did, on the little spring here, there used to be a safety pin to pin it to the inside of your pocket so you wouldn't lose it. I lost that long ago, but it still works perfectly. And let's take the hook out and set him right here. And let's first look at this guy. This is almost the original design. And when I look at this one, you'll notice that there's some significant differences. The overall shape is the same, the frequency is the same, but the Raymundo design ends with a down swoop, whereas the titanium one kind of ends with an up swoop. Well, let's think about how that would work. Let's assume that this is the bottom of the pin, and the Raymundo design, when it slides in, that little swoop part, like a shovel end, will shovel and get underneath that pin and push him up out of the way. So it kind of levers him a little bit. Well, let's look at the titanium design. Come here, you. We slide him in there. He doesn't have that down swoop, so it's going to slam into that pin, and he's going nowhere. This is a case of it kind of looks like a Bogota, but not quite. So it got me curious. I have several of Raymundo's original designs here. He sent this to me years and years ago, and I decided to compare it to one of the originals and move all this stuff out of here and find the originals were shaped like this. Let me grab these guys. The originals had a little finger hoop on the end of them for that jiggling action. And I wanted to compare some of the very first designs, and these really were one of the very first ones off of Raymundo's production line. They're made out of wire. He's hand-thinned it. Just a lot of work went into these. But more importantly, look at the tips of those. There's that down swoop. So since day one, they've always had that down swoop. And for some reason, this one failed to copy that. So we're going to fix that right now. And the way I'm going to do it, I am going to take a pair of pliers, and we're going to turn this from a 2-humper, or from a 3-humper into a 2-humper by putting a down swoop right about, I'm going to cut it a little bit long right there, and that way I can file them down and put a down swoop. So it's going to be a 2-humper with a down swoop. That's how easy it is to at least convert this to the original design. On this one, the original designs from Raymundo look like this. A lot of work went into that, and some of his later designs looked more like this one, much easier to produce. These do nest, so you could easily put a spring on these guys. I mean, get them around like it was intended. These do nest, and you could put that spring on there and hold these together in your pocket just like I do, except now you've got titanium. So there you go, guys, $39.95, and you can match up with the originals with a simple snip with a pair of wire cutters. You can be back to the original design with this 2-hump Bogota. Anyway, guys, appreciate your time. Stay safe, stay legal. If you want to win this thing, my gosh, that's easy to do. All you need to do is navigate to locklab.com, the tribal website, and scroll down in the middle of the page. You'll see all the giveaway buttons, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But the one you're looking for is the Weekend Review Giveaway, purple band. Just click on it. It'll take you to the registration page. Again, scroll to the bottom, put in a good email address, so if you win, I can get in touch with you, let you know. Put in a username, doesn't matter what it is, and click Submit. When you're done, you'll get a green check mark confirming your entry. Thanks, guys.